Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Hello everybody, Crow here on Vilebranch, only found on titansleague.org, and I'm here with you today for the Warlock overview. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so first off, your Warlock spells and abilities are very similar to level 19, normally, however, with a few exceptions. For one, you start out with Curse of Exhaustion, Death Coil, Seed of Corruption, Fell Armor, modified to scale off of your stamina instead of your spirit. You also have Firestone and Soulstone, which grant a roughly amount of 3% spell haste or spell critical strike rating respectively. Additionally, you start with Incinerate and Shadow Flame. Also, Searing Pain has been modified to be instant cast and costs twice as much mana as Incinerate and deals roughly half the amount of damage. This is a spell that you can use mobily, but also to reposition so that you don't lose out too much on DPS. But this is far from efficient and should be looked at as if it was Moonfire for druids. Now let's jump into the talents and the class fantasy. So first off, as somebody who's actually played vanilla Warlocks, I know quite a lot, and these are kind of my visions on how the class is played and how the developers seen the class. First of all, the class fantasy for Affliction is to be able to juggle multiple targets by utilizing your dots and pets. In this way, with your Fear, you can kill enemies slowly over time, but to do so efficiently and in large groups if desired. Demonology has always been about resiliency and empowering your demons, keeping you around long enough to deal damage, but also making sure your pet is a vital asset. Additionally, there are quite a few things in here that have niche uses and a balanced use of both shadow and fire spells. Destruction has a class fantasy of utilizing your fell energy to do damage to enemies by using your own life force, as opposed to stealing it from enemies like you would Affliction. And so, in here, you have talents and abilities like Soul Leech, which, utilizing Life Tap for mana, can allow you to steal part of the damage that you deal to enemies as life, and then using Life Tap, convert it back into mana to deal damage again. You also have improved Soul Leech here, to make it a bit more efficient for you. Let's go ahead and jump into the talents. You have Improved Corruption. This increases the amount of damage your Corruption deals, along with the critical strike chance of Seed of Corruption. Spell Concentration reduces the pushback by your channeled spells and casted spells in the Affliction tree. So Drain Soul, Drain Life, Drain Mana, Unstable Affliction, and Haunt. Improved Life Tap improves Life Tap. Improved Drain Soul allows you to generate up to 15% of your maximum mana if the target is killed while you're draining its soul. Additionally, this will reduce your threat from Affliction spells against the enemy target, making it useful not just for solo content, but for raiding. Suppression will increase your chance to hit with spells by 1%, 2%, 3% respectively, reduce the mana cost of them by up to 6%, and increase the range by up to 6 yards. Soul Siphon increases the amount drained by your Drain Life and Drain Soul spells by up to 3-6%. Soul Siphon increases the amount drained by your Drain Life and Drain Soul spells by an additional 3% for each of your Affliction effects on the target, up to a maximum amount of 9%. This also doubles up to 6 with a maximum of 18%. Amplify Curse This can reduce the global cooldown of your curses by up to a second, making it easier for you to apply your curses to multiple targets in a target-rich environment. Improved Fear causes your fear to inflict a nightmare effect when it ends, decreasing movement speed of the target by up to 30% for 5 seconds. Improved Fell Hunter. Your Fell Hunter regains about 4 or 8% of its mana each time it hits with Shadow Bite. The cooldown is also reduced, and your Fell Hunter's Fell Intelligence is buffed by 5 or 10%. This is pretty self-explanatory. It keeps your Fell Hunter's mana up so that it can continually use its own abilities. Siphon Life, playing into that life-draining class fantasy, allows your Corruption spell to heal you for 40% of the damage it deals per tick. Additionally, this will increase the damage of your Corruption, Seed of Corruption, and Unstable Affliction. Nightfall will allow your Corruption ticks and Drain Life to have a 4% chance to cause you to enter the Shadow Trance state, which allows you to cast an instant Shadow Bolt. Shadow Embrace. Your Shadow Bolt and Haunt spells apply Shadow's Embrace, which will increase the damage the target takes from your Shadow periodic effect damage by up to 3% per stack, stacking 3 times. This also reduces the periodic healing the target receives by up to 12%, stacking 3 times. This lasts for 12 seconds. This is very good for blanketing the enemy, making it harder for them to dispel your effects, but it also means that healers will have a harder time healing over time and will have to cast all of their healings up front. Death's Embrace. This will increase the amount your Drain Life drains while your health is sitting below 20% by up to 30%. This will also increase the damage you deal with your Shadow spells by up to 12% while your target is at or below 35% HP, giving you this kind of execute window for all of your Shadow damage. Unstable Affliction. This deals some Shadow damage over 15 seconds, and nearly twice as much if it's dispelled, silencing the Dispeller for 5 seconds. This does not stack with Immolate, so this becomes your de facto Shadow damage Immolate spell that you use in your rotation, bumping up the amount of possible Affliction damage over time to 3. Your Corruption, Curse of Agony, and your Unstable Affliction. Pandemic. Grants periodic damage from your Corruption and Unstable Affliction spells the ability to critically hit for 100% increased damage. This also increases the critical strike damage that your Haunt damage spell can cast. Pandemic. Grants the periodic damage from your Corruption and Unstable Affliction spells to be able to critically hit for 100% increased damage. Additionally, this will increase the critical strike damage bonus of your Haunt spell by 100%. Empowered Corruption is your bread and butter talent, which will increase the damage of your Corruption by up to 1/3 of your spell power. That's pretty strong. Contagion increases the damage of Curse of Agony, Corruption, and Seed of Corruption by up to 5%, but more importantly, reduces the chance your helpful Affliction spells and damage over time effects will be dispelled by up to 30%, making it a lot harder to get rid of. Finally, you have Haunt, which will deal some Shadow damage to the target and increase Shadow damage over time effects on the target by 20% for 12 seconds. When the spell ends or is dispelled, the soul returns to you, healing you for 100% of the damage that it dealt initially to the target. So this is kind of like a Shadow Bolt spell that deals slightly more damage than a Shadow Bolt does. However, it heals you at the end of its duration for the amount it dealt. It's pretty good on an 8-second cooldown. Destruction I spent a little more time on because it was a little difficult for me to really capture the class fantasy without breaking the class several times over. So this is what I've came up with. Improved Shadow Bolt, which will increase the damage of your Shadow Bolt by up to 10%. This will also cause it to have up to 100% chance to cause your target to become vulnerable to spell damage, allowing you to crit 5% more often. This effect will stick around for about 30 seconds, so it lasts quite a while. Bane, which is a really important talent, reduces the casting time of Shadow Bolt, Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, and Immolate by up to half of a second, and your Soulfire by up to 2 seconds, making it go down from a 6-second cast to a 4-second cast. Pretty strong. Infernal Influence will increase your melee and spell critical strike chance for you by up to 2 to 5%, and your Summon Demon from 5 or 10%. Ruin increases the critical strike damage bonus of your destruction spells and your Imp's Firebolt spell by up to 100%, making this really good for a Imp build, or just flat out for your critical strike damage to really take off. Demonic Power reduces the cooldown of your Succubus's Lash of Pain spell by up to 6 seconds, and reduces the casting time of your Imp's Firebolt spell by up to half of a second. Again, really good for a pet build. Your Molten Skin talent reduces damage taken by up to 6%, making you a little more tanky. Likewise, you have Intensity, which will allow you to take damage without interrupting the cast time of your spells by up to 70%. Required by that is Backlash. This increases the critical strike chance with your spells by up to 3%, and gives you a 25% chance when struck with a physical attack to reduce the cast time of your next Shadow Bolt or Incinerate spell by 100%. This can only last for 8 seconds and not occur more than once every 8 seconds. So, you only once every 8 seconds get this free Shadow Bolt cast while being banged on by physical damage. Destructive Reach increases the range of your destruction spells by up to 20%, and reduces the threat caused by those destruction spells by 20%, making it a little better for raids and a little better for threat management. Conflagrate. This will consume an Immolate or Shadow Flame effect on the enemy, causing it to instantly deal 60% of its damage up front, with a 40% damage buff over 6 seconds. So, overall, it's about 100% of the damage that it deals, but it does so over 6 seconds. Your improved Immolate will increase the fire damage by Immolate by up to 25%, making it a little more useful. Aftermath increases the periodic damage done by your Immolate by 15%, which is just the damage over time portion, and your Conflagrate has up to a 100% chance to daze the target for 5 seconds, allowing you to control the enemy a little better. Empowered Imp will increase the damage your Imp deals by up to 30%, and all critical hits done by your Imp have a 100% chance to cause your next spell to critically strike. This effect only lasts for 8 seconds though, so you better get that spell in quick. Shadow Fury. This is your bread and butter AoE shadow damage spell. It deals very little shadow damage, but allows you to stun the enemies hit with it for 3 seconds. Soul Leech is a one-talent talent that, as earlier stated, will allow your Shadow Bolt, Shadow Burn, Shadow Fury, Shadow Flame, Chaos Bolt, Soulfire, Incinerate, Searing Pain, and Conflagrate spells to have a 1/3 chance to return health equal to 20% of the damage you cause, basically healing you for some of the damage. Backdraft. Whenever you cast Conflagrate or Shadow Burn, the casting time and global cooldown of your next 3 spells is reduced by 30%. This means the global cooldown is reduced from your 1.5 seconds normally to only 1 second. And of course the casting time for things like Soulfire can go down from like 4 seconds to almost 2.4. It gets really crazy really quickly. Next you have Nethermancy, the first of 2 unique talents in the Destruction Tree. Similar to Shamans, you can only choose 1 unique talent, so choose wisely. This will increase the spell damage bonus of your Shadow Destruction spells by 20%. It also increases... This will increase the spell damage bonus of your spell damage of your Shadow-based Destruction spells by up to 20%, and allows them to have a 50% chance to cause your next Corruption to tick 20% faster and cost no mana. This does stack up to 3 times, so if you save it, you can toss out your Corruption and make it go super fast. This makes it more feel like a shadowy burn than anything else, which kind of leads into the next talent, Shadow Burn. This will instantly blast the target for a moderate amount of shadow damage, and burn away one beneficial magic effect from the enemy. Additionally, this will burn away invulnerabilities, like Divine Shield, Ice Block, or Embrace of the Earth Mother, and go right through them. So, this is your de facto spell for utility in regards to getting rid of invulnerabilities, and being able to always hit the enemy. It's also just useful in general for getting rid of a magic effect you don't like a shield or a buff, or something of that nature. This also means you don't have to have your Fell Hunter out in order to do that thing. Alternatively, you can go the Fire Destruction route and increase the damage of your Incinerate and Chaos Bolt against targets affected by your Immolate by up to 10%. Additionally, Conflagrate will get a 25% chance to critically strike on top of your critical strike chance, making it even more lethal. Learning this will allow you to learn Chaos Bolt, which will be about 130 to 150 consistent fire damage. It has a lower cooldown than your Shadow Burn does, despite being casted instead of instant, but it will always pierce through absorption effects, and it can't be resisted. So this spell is a more reliable amounts of damage consistently. So if you're looking for consistency, maybe consider going a fire variant of Destruction Warlock. Also, you have Improved Soul Leech, which allows you to trickle in a little bit extra mana every time your Soul Leech procs. So you don't have to sacrifice all of your health to life tap, but you probably still will. So that's the Destruction Fantasy. Let's go ahead and delve into Demonology. Obviously, we have the increased amount of health restored by your Health Stone by 20%, making it more useful. Demonic Aegis will increase your effectiveness of Demonic Armor and Fell Armor by 30%. This means the armor portion of Demon Armor is increased, means you take less physical damage, but it also means that your Fell Armor will grant you more spell power based off your stamina. Demonic Embrace increases your total stamina by up to 10%, making you a big beefy target. Fell Synergy is great because it gives you a 100% chance to heal your pet for the damage you deal. Improved Health Funnel increases the amount of health you transfer by Health Funnel by 20%. It increases the health cost, or reduces the health cost rather, by up to 20%. And while your summoned demon is taking healing from your health funnel, it will take 30% less damage, overall making it harder to kill. So if someone's focusing or tunneling your pet, you can just throw up the health funnel and make sure they don't kill it. Demonic Brutality will increase all of your Void Walker's abilities, so that makes it useful for holding aggro and being able to pull multiple targets without dying, which can go hand in hand with Affliction. I personally don't like as much as I like Fell Vitality, which will increase the stamina and intellect of all of your pets, and increases your stamina or health and mana by up to 3%, making it a pretty good talent. Soul Link hasn't changed. It just decreases the damage you take by 20% and causes it to go to your summoned demon instead. Molten Core increases the duration of your Immolate by up to 9 seconds, and you have a 12% chance to gain the Molten Core effect when your corruption deals damage. The Molten Core effect will empower your Incinerate or Soulfire. For Incinerate, it increases the damage it deals and its critical strike chance by 15%. For Soulfire, it will increase the damage it deals by 18% and reduces the cast time by 40%, making it incredible with the Bane talent. Nether Protection. After being hit with a spell, you have up to a 30% chance to gain Nether Protection, reducing all damage by that school to you by 30% for 8 seconds. This is really good if you're getting hit by spells constantly, or if you want to become a Warlock tank. More on that later. Mana Feed. This allows your drain mana and life tap spells to give your demon mana as well. Very strong. Master Demonologist will give you an effect based on your summoned demon. For your Imp or Succubus, it will give you Fire or Shadow additional damage and spell crit respectively. For Voidwalker, it reduces the physical damage you take by up to 10%, and your Fell Hunter reduces the spell damage you take by 10%. Decimation. When you Shadow Bolt, Incinerate, or Soulfire a target that is at or below 35% health, the cast time of Soulfire is further reduced by an additional 40%. Also, Soulfire's cast this way don't consume a Soul Shard, but then again, they don't do anyway. I removed all the Soul Shard costs from your Warlock spells. Master Conjurer will allow you to increase the potency of your Firestone Spellstone from 3% to nearly 10%. So that might be useful if you're looking for additional spell haste or spell crit. Black Brand. This will deal Shadow Flame damage to the target every 3 seconds and increases the amount of fire and shadow damage they take from all sources by 1%. This stacks 6 times, and the debuff lasts for about 18 seconds. Diabolic Tutor. This will teach you 2 new demon summons that can be used while you have an active demon already. The first one is Summon Infernal, which summons an Infernal to hit enemies with melee attacks, scaling off of your spell damage, specifically your fire spell damage. It also damages enemies periodically with a fiery immolation aura around itself. The Infernal inherits 150% of your total armor. Summon Doomguard. Will summon a Doomguard to assault the enemy with Doom Bolts, which deal 22 to 24 of your shadow damage, scaling with your shadow spell damage. It'll also deal about 22 shadow damage to enemies within 12 yards of the target hit. The Doomguard additionally also occasionally cripples the target every 12 seconds, slowing its movement speed by 30%, its attack speed by 40%, and its healing received by 20%. The Doomguard, however, only inherits 75% of your armor. Fell Supremacy will increase your summoned demon's critical strike chance equal to up to 30% of your critical strike chance, making it synergize very well with Master Conjurer. Dark Arts. Your Corruption, Immolate, and Black Brand's periodic damage will increase the critical strike chance against the target with Incinerate and Shadow Bolt by up to 10%, and the damage dealt by your Soulfire by up to 30%. This stacks 10 times, as I said, and Soulfire will consume the debuff. Consuming these stacks will reduce the cooldown of your Diabolic Tutor summons by 1 second per stack, allowing you to cast them more often. So here, your demonology fantasy is fulfilled by having additional demons and a mastery over them, more so than the other specs do, giving you a greater uptime of yours, better versions of the existing summons, and more importantly, the final talent, Metamorphosis. Your mastery over fell energy and manipulating demons allows you to turn into one yourself. This form will increase your armor contribution from items by 600%, your threat by 100%, reduces the chance you will be critically hit by melee attacks by 6%, and reduces the duration of stuns and snares on you by 30%. It also increases the amount of mana gained every time you use Life Tap while you're shapeshifted. You also gain unique demon abilities in addition to your normal abilities. Now, something special I'd like to present to everybody here is, instead of looking like that fugly purple Illidan, I decided to make Metamorphosis a bit more personalized. So first of all, it lasts forever, and it's its own unique stance, which allows you to have your own action bar while shapeshifted. Also, I think this looks way cooler. Now then, let's take a look at your demon abilities. Challenging Howl is an AoE taunt with a 15-second cooldown. Demonic Grace will increase your dodge chance by 30%, your spell haste by 20%, along with your melee haste, but more importantly, allow you to dodge while you're casting spells, giving you a brief window, because it only lasts for about 6 seconds, to dodge while casting. Fel Leech. This is a more expensive Drain Life, and it doesn't require you to channel it, because you just impart some Fel energy into the target and transfer its health over to you once per second every 15 seconds. This ability is also affected by talents that affect Drain Life, allowing you to effectively talent into things that increase the amount that it heals you for, or decrease the cost, etc. So you got Fel Leech. Got Shadow Cleave. This deals a lot more damage than Shadow Bolt does, I think, by a small amount, but also can be inflicted up to 3 nearby allies. So you just walk up to them and you melee them instantly for a bunch of shadow damage. Next, you have Tempt. This is a 10-second cooldown taunt, essentially, allowing you to hold aggro better as a demon tank. In addition to all of this, you have all of your regular spells you can use. And remember that Searing Pain is an instant cast spell. So you can just constantly throw these out to try to make sure you get some snap threat to prevent your allies from being attacked immediately. Alright. Let's check what I would put. You're giving your demons a bunch of crits. I think Infernal Influence is good for that. Maybe even Ruin for the Shadow, the Soulfire stuff. You can probably put a bunch of different things. I'm sure people will experiment when it comes out. But essentially, you're going to want to pop in the demon form for tanking. Have one of your pets out. Let's say, for the sake of argument, it's going to be Imp or something. All the extra fire damage. If you took Master Demonology, I highly recommend going with the Voidwalker, Fell Hunter, to make sure you get even tankier. But this is good too. Alright. Now I'm going to cast Immolate, Corruption, and I didn't put Black Brand in the tabs yet. This is your Doomlord, your Infernal. As you can see, the periodic damage over time, the Dark Arts is ticking up really fast. So you just constantly juggle some dots here. When it gets to 10, you throw out your Soulfire. If you get this proc, you definitely Soulfire, because it goes down to 2.4 seconds, and that's kind of nuts, the amount of damage it dealt. Especially right there, when you hit like 500s, and on starter gear, people have like, I don't know, 800, maybe 1,000 if they're stacking stamina. You can get pretty ridiculous pretty quickly. And so you still have a lot of this bursty damage, even if you, instead of taking your Metamorphosis tanking talent here, for all the extra cool shit, you decided to go and pick up Flag, or maybe Siphon Life. However you want to do it, it's up to you. But personally, I really like the fantasy of it, and I like how it plays. And I certainly hope you guys do too when you get to check it out and play it for yourself and see how it is. Well, I think that's all I got for you guys today. If you like what you see, comment, like, subscribe, maybe join the Discord, and give me your input. Until next time, guys, see you later, see ya, see ya, see you later, see ya. Bye-bye.